Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel. We're here again for our second social race of the brand new F1 26 DLC, of course, on the F1 25 game. I'm back again for some commentary of what could be another very interesting evening. But I'm not alone as always, and I've got Mr. Warder alongside me here tonight. And Warder, headed into this one, of course, you've not seen the console race from last night, so you're going into this, like most others, as a bit of an unknown.
Completely blind, I think you could say, is the best way to describe this one. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this update for the game handles, and see what these 22 drivers instead of normal 20. What sort of show they can put on for us tonight.
Indeed, and of course, the one thing as well to note, heading onto a brand new game, we've got two brand new F1 teams of Audi and Cadillac, and we've got two new community esports teams of TC Esports, which is Thibaut Courtois' esports team, and DMT, Dematta Racing, which is a team I think either ran by Cristiano Dematta, or at least he has some part in it anyway. So that's one of the best footballers in the world, and an ex-Toyota F1 driver, now running a team in the world of esports, which is going to be great. I mean, we've already got Tomašenko, a Czech rally driver, used to drive in F1 back in 2002. So it's nice to see, isn't it, Warder? We're getting some big names starting to invest, and I think that the one main name I've just forgot is, of course, Roman Grosjean for RHG. So it is great, isn't it, to see more of our sports celebrities trying to get involved with the esports scene and give some opportunities to some very well-deserving drivers.
Exactly that. I don't think I could have put it better myself, Nathan, because you want these names to be able to like showcase a little bit and make it realize that they understand how important not only just esports but like the sport itself matters to us as fans. So it's great to see, as we've already lost one driver coming through, and something I've picked up straight away. I'm loving the fact on the mini map now that you can see the DRS zone kind of properly, in that little pink and purple setup.
Yes, so we can actually see where the straight mode is, as we do have a couple of drivers on their first laps. We'll have a look here with Casper Flack, of course, driver for FVR, took part in many league races on the last game, and he's back once again here on the new DLC, so we'll keep an eye on what he can manage to do here. And of course, the one thing to note as well, and an issue that could crop up for many, is that when we get a yellow flag like there is now, that disables the overtake mode, which is going to give some big advantages, but some heavy disadvantages to other drivers on the track. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on through qualifying, and just seeing how it affects drivers on their qualifying laps, as luckily Jensen Racing's managed to get back into the session, and he can get racing once again. But we head our way through and towards the final couple of corners here with Casper, as we do have our first lap on the board, and it's Joe Murphy, a 108.171.
Nice to see Joe Murphy still going through. And, there's so many cars on track right now. Are we going to see more, especially and what with this yellow flag situation that we've got, more drivers going at inopportune moments to do their lap times to make sure that they don't get any of this yellow flag issues, as Zach Styler goes a little bit quicker.
Indeed, as some more cars looking to come and complete their laps. We've got Marcel Pabst, of course, one of the announced drivers for Thibaut Courtois Esports, and of course, along with him, it's Elliot Tomasetto and Victor Vidlap joining that outfit for the current times, and he jumps himself up into the top six, a 108.322. Then we have one of the other drivers for one of the new teams, Gabriel Quintino, part of Dematta Racing. As we do see there, Larry Tolkeet jump up to third place, just displacing Cameron Dowds from that top three spot, and Gina Pressacan in the Red Bull straight up to P2. Of course, it's a decent game for him on the last cycle. He was up there, he was other times quite near the bottom. He was always jumping around, was Tudor. So it's great to see him with a good qualifying. And Dirk Vermond as well. I'd imagine that, was the SCI Dirk from consoles moved to PC? I'm hoping that's correct. I was expecting Warder to correct me earlier on, but he says he's not sure if it's the right one. But I think it must be, shouldn't it? Surely.
I 100 99% certain. I'm not going to say 100. As Luca Rapassa goes fourth place. I mean, there's so many names on here that I'm looking and going, I recognise those from console. Like Cameron Dowds, what a driver. Love the fact that Cameron's still here. Okay, he's seventh at the moment, but yeah, great to see Cameron still racing and flying away through there. But yeah, this telemetry issue. As I've just realised, I can't do a. I wanted to go on board with Tony Hatala, and there's 22 drivers now, so I have to find out how to get to the driver,
Well,
like 21st and 22nd.
I go to 20th and then drop down a couple of spots. It was the first thing I noticed. I thought, for God's sake, the one thing that I wanted to still be there isn't. So no, you have to go then to 20th and scroll down, or maybe go to first and scroll up that way. As we do see there, Dennis Langrock in the Mercedes jump up into the top 10 there. A nice opening lap for him. JSD, our lobby host, making his way out of John Sow now and heading his way up to the line. We'll see what he can set in the Williams, the other Williams of Tamas Kokeni, who recently joined TRT up in 12th. What can JSD manage to put on the board? Goes just behind his teammates there in 13th. So looking for drivers on laps. We have Lucas Baisner in the Audi. We haven't seen them on track yet, so we'll have a little look at what he can do. And then we also had Jensen Rawson in the Cadillac, another car we haven't seen much of yet in this session. So we'll have a jump onto him now, because I think he's a little bit further along than Lucas is. But I think, yeah, he's invalidated somewhere, so not ideal for him.
Not great, but Lucas heading into turn 10, Pico to Pato. I'm glad that they haven't changed the tracks too much, and the names of the corners are still the same. I don't think I could handle all this change so early on, but the game still looks smooth, which is a good starting point, I think, for EA. Hopefully they can keep this up for this one, and a good platform for probably F127, I guess.
Ooh, a nice lap there from Lucas Baisner up to P3. We did see there Tony Hatala as well jump up into the top 5. A very, very promising driver. Certainly a big future ahead of him. And with the, of course, as the game cycles go, you've got dev drivers and, main seat drivers moving around and dropping around. I'm sure somewhere there'll be a spot for him to get involved as a development driver in the future. Of course, currently under FVR. So I'm sure he will definitely be of passage new if his skill and performance can continue increasing. As we see Tamas Kokeni already invalidated on his lap, so no improvement there. Then let's have a look at what Ava Kabadi can do. He's on the intermediates, so I'd imagine no proper lap time set there from him on this one, Warder, unless he knows something we don't.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's raining, but if it's anything like the British weather, it might change at any point at all. But yeah, it seems like both Jensen and Tamas there struggling in the center S, which, I mean, it's not unheard of to struggle in that part of the corners, but I think that's the second time in a row Jensen struggled to get a lap in because of the center S. So maybe a little bit more front end orientated, maybe too aggressive in their inputs. Maybe I'm not sure, but Ava Gabadi is really struggling on those intermediate tyres coming into Zhangzhou at a really weird angle.
Yeah, certainly. Yes, I don't know what the sort of strategy is there for Ave, but he's made his way back into the pit lane. Here we have Joe Murphy in the Aston Martin, P7 currently. Of course, the driver been around for a very long time, was over on the console, then moved to PC on F125, and he's back with us again for this game, what could be a very exciting game cycle. He's up there by just over a 10th and a bit, so that could be enough to put him up into the top 2 here, which is currently locked out by VNT 1, 2 and 3. So they have got something that we don't know about, as Joe Murphy goes quickest at 107.971. Yes, as I was saying, it seems VNT very, very quick to start off qualifying, and Dirk there off on the exit on South, so he's found the grass somewhere, and hopefully he can get sorted and back on track soon. And Zach Styler finding a tad bit of time in that opening sector as Luca Rapassa now jumps up into the top 2.
Cameron Dowds, I think, made a mistake out of Zhangzhou. Wasn't going to go too much quicker on that one. But, well, Luca Rapassa splitting. Well, Joe Murphy was the first one to stop the VNT dominance. But I think that's I might be if it is Dirk that I know of from the console, that is two Shizu drivers moving from Shizu from the console to VNT for the PC, which means maybe they know something that we don't. Who knows on that one? But some lap time still coming in thick and fast, and I think Casper Flack is just about to start one lap.
Indeed, and also some information coming through in the YouTube chat saying that the lap time yesterday was an 8.3 for pole. Without even our final runs, it's a 107.9 currently, and that settles the debate, in my opinion, for the fact that PC is clear of console, always has been and always will be. A lot of people disagree with me on that, but I've always been very, very firm with that opinion, and, well, already proving them wrong. No, proving me right, proving them wrong, yes. As Noel now making his way up to the line in the Aston Martin, another driver that switched from console in the last couple of years. We'll see what he can put on the board and stays in 17th. Did find time, though, but not enough to make his way through the grid. And I suppose, Warder, of course, first couple of days of the game, a lot of drivers here and now are just probably trying to get settled in, aren't they, to the way the cars work and also to that battery system.
Yeah, the battery system's going to be the main confusing point. I say confusing point. These guys have far more time to be able to put some practice in than others. Maybe, I don't know. I'm maybe clutching at straws to say why the PC side is going to be a little bit bigger, as Casper only just beats their teammate Larry for P10 qualifying provisionally. But yeah, I think maybe you're right. Maybe the inputs for PC are just a little bit smoother when you're trying to push through. Who knows? Maybe that extra day's practice has helped them no end, because don't forget, the game only just came out yesterday.
Yes, and there's already been a differ of opinion on the game itself. I personally think it's an improvement, but of course I'm not very good. I'm normally about 2 seconds off per lap compared to the top times, so I think in that aspect it's the fact of I'm not pushing the car as Luca Rapace goes quickest. I'm not pushing the car as much as others would do, so I'm not going to feel the full force of trying to push these cars to their limits. So, yes, I think it's better, but I know a lot of others don't. Some, on the other hand, do find it better as well. There's a big mixture of opinion for the start of this game cycle, which I suppose is a good thing because at least somebody likes it. Unless, compared to what we did say in scene 24 and 25, when I don't think anybody likes it. So we've got somewhere, haven't we?
We definitely have, and that's great. At least there's some people, like you say, some people like it. It's great. It's an improvement as Lucas goes into P5, looking quite feisty. Is Lucas in the VNT? I think it's a driver to watch out for if they can continue this upward trajectory, I guess is the best way to describe it. But Tudor Pressacan also, I think you mentioned had a really good F125. Let's see where they go with that. If they can, take the step up. I mean, currently P4. Okay, it's the second day of the game, but you've got to take a lot from the early doors for people who are able to settle with the game a lot quicker than others.
Certainly, and one car sound I love is a Red Bull. We're just on board here with Tony Hietala in the V-Carb. Lovely sound is this Red Bull. It's easily my favourite engine on the game. As he now makes his way up to the line, goes up into the top 5, does Tony, the fifth driver, to get into the 107s and matches the time there set by Tudor Pressacan a few minutes ago. A nice lap there by Tony. Many others are on laps at the minute. We've got Marcel Pabst here down by over a second, so he's not on a competitive run. Neither is Tamas Kenny, as he's got, it seems, an invalidation. We've got Jerry Van Bussel also with an invalidation early on as well, and then Jensen Rowson, who's hopefully going to get himself a lap on the board, because the 120, it's around 13 seconds off, so it's not anything competitive here for Jensen, and just seems maybe there's a bit of pressure getting into him. The fact that if he couldn't set a good lap in the first couple, maybe he's getting a little bit desperate to get something on the board, which it seems this time, though, Warder, he should do. He's up by 9 seconds in the first two, so I'd imagine this will be a very good lap for Jensen here.
It looks like it. I mean, a 120 is sort of my time around Brazil, to be perfectly honest, but across the line, it's going to be up there. It's just outside the top 10, 12th place, smack in the middle, right behind Cameron Dowds as well, and we know that they're no slouch. So I think it's a good banker lap for them. I think they've got enough time to maybe come into the pits and actually set a lap time this time.
Indeed. And we have Joe Murphy back on track again. He's around 40 thousandths away from that pole position, currently held by Luca Rapassa. What can he do in sector 1? He's down slightly. 7 thousandths away in that opening sector of his personal best. So we'll see what he can do through the remaining 2 sectors. And you can see, of course, with the way the battery regens and burns very quickly, 10 to 20% by the time he gets up to turn 7, but then he gains around 25% all the way through here, even more than that, gaining over 30% of his battery in a couple of corners. And of course, it just sets him up nicely for the final couple of corners on this track. Of course, it's a short run here. You might want to burn a bit of battery, and then it's all burn to the line out of Jun Sao as he through Subida dos boxes for Joe Murphy. Burning the battery, he might have left himself with a little bit too little there, only 5% as he makes his way up to the line. And what will it be for him? I think that might be a preparation run because he's slowed down immediately, and it looks like he's going to make his way around the track again. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for drivers that are on out laps and are going for a double out lap, and those that are actually pushing on laps here.
Yeah, it could get a little bit, a bit confusing. We had a few occasions in F1 25 where some tracks it was good to get that second installation lap in and get the tires to the right temperature and all that jazz. But I think we may see it a little bit more in this update to the game in F1 26, I guess, because the cars handled that a little bit differently.
Yeah, they do. I think from what I saw, the front end's a little bit more pointy. It seems like I'm a little bit more connected to it. Apart from that, I know there's changes, but my skill isn't good enough to determine what it is. Unfortunately, I'm not quite that skilled at driving. I'm a little bit better at talking over the cars. As Carlos Galindo up to the line doesn't improve. Is up in the first 2, but lost time in sector 3 as Luca Rapassa goes quickest. Another big improvement from him, a 107.849 for the McLaren. Of course, we want to keep an eye here on Zach Styler and Tudor Pressacan. Tudor's lifted off on his lap. What about Zach? Is he going to be looking for an improvement here as he makes his way through sector 2 there? One of the Haas cars just slightly in the way here for Zach. And we'll see what he can manage to muster up here. 3rd at the minute. Just over a 10th away from that pole position. Through the end of sector 2. He's up by 24 thousandths. So it's enough here to make it a McLaren 1-2, but not enough to displace Luca Rapassa. But looking at the grid, I don't think anybody really was expected to beat Luca. I think when you saw his name pop up, you kind of expect him to be one of the top guys in this session.
Yeah, as quite rightly mentioned, it wasn't enough to displace Luca, but yeah, Luca's a big name on this grid, isn't it? It's had a lot of success in console as well as going onto the PC. So very, very quick driver. Joe Murphy is trying and pushing through sector 2. I'm not sure what the sector split time is. It's not going to be enough to displace Zach Styler at the moment. So this is not the lap time they would have wanted. Tony Atala going 3rd place. I'm not sure where Tudor Pressacan is in all this as well. So
invalidated. So I think that might be it for Tudor. I'd imagine that the checkered flag will go out very shortly. Joe Murphy's retired. He's binned it at turn 1. I'd imagine that was a bit more calculated than what it could have been there. So he's done in this session. What can Tudor... Well, Tudor won't be able to do anything because the checkered flag has been waved as Dennis Langrock jumps up to P8 in the Mercedes. Dirk Vermond back up into the top 6. Just can't quite get himself into the 107s as Tudor will claim that 5th place. Dowds, disappointing there for him. Only P12 managed for the Alpine, as many more are heading to the line. Kokeni and Jerry Van Bossel down at the bottom of the order. Of course, we didn't see Florian Van Zelter at all out on track. He's starting from the back of the field. We also lost Ave Gabani as well earlier on. The same goes for Casper Flack. He retires too. 15th at best for him, so many other opportunities for many others to improve on their times. Tony Hirtella won't be improving. Luca Rapassa won't be either. Larry Tolkey is up by a 10th in the first 2 sectors, so he could maybe jump up and cause an upset here as Galindo up into the top 8. Lucas Biesner as well jumps up into 5th, only 5 thousandths away from Murphy. What can Larry Tolkey manage in the Ferrari? Jumps up into the top 8, and I'd imagine that is it here in qualifying. And it's a McLaren 1-2, Luca Rapassa and Zach Styler.
Yeah, that's a good lap time for Luca Rapassa. Tony as well, great lap time from them. I think maybe Larry Tolkey may have been a bit disappointed with the gain that they didn't get in Sector 3. They were up by a tenth of a second and only was 6 hundredths of a second in by the end of the lap. So you wonder if they're a little bit disappointed with that. They could have gone and thrown themselves into a P5, maybe even into the top 3 battle. But Luca, what a lap time from them.
Indeed, and just by 60 thousandths of a second, it's Luca Rapace that takes pole around Brazil ahead of Zach Styler. Tony Hirteller, Joe Murphy and Lucas Biesner rounds off the top 5. Then we have Gino Pressacan, Dirk Vermont, Larry Torquay, Carlos Galindo and Dennis Langrock, your top 10. And then the rest of the field is consisted of Gabriel Quintino, JSD, Cameron Dowes, Jensen Rose and Casper Flack. Marcel Pabst in 16th ahead of his fellow teammate Eli Tomasetto in 17th. Niall Gio 18th ahead of Tamas Kenny, Jerry Van Bussel, Avagabadi, and then Florian Van Zelter, of course, didn't go out onto track, so he will be starting last. And luckily, that means, Warder, there'll be no restart. Nobody got in trouble there and nobody got any penalties, so we should go straight into the racing here. I'm going to throw a horrible question to you and ask you who you think will win.
Well, I know how good Cameron Downs can be from coming from further down in the grid, but I think Luca Rapace. I'm going to be boring and say Luca Rapace, just because
it's boring, but
it looked
accurate.
A little bit.
It's more than likely going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, it is just slightly. I was going to ask a question to you as well, but I'm just going to. Who do you think is going to take victory? I definitely had a better question than that, though.
You know what? I'm going to go for an outsider, Lucas Biesner in the Audi. Never really seen him right up at the top in PC Tier 2 level racing, so I'm going to go for Lucas Biesner for the win. Something a bit out there. Something a little bit different for sure. And I've just realised that was the same prediction I had in the last race. I predicted the Audis to win. So, yes, we'll wait and see what happens, I suppose. Antics there saying Florian Lester first. Lucas' prediction is all right. Well, it will be if it happens. But I don't think it'll be that likely. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. So, yes, we'll get ready for the 5 red lights here around Brazil for the first social race for the PC platform here in WOR on F126. It's 5 lights and down to turn 1 they go. A good start from the top 2, but a very good start then from Tony Hirteller, making 1 move, maybe looking to make 2 into turn 1. He can't quite get alongside Rapace at first, but he can get alongside Rapace through turn 2, and Tony Hirteller, with a brilliant launch, takes the lead at the Brazilian Grand Prix, but already the McLaren is fighting back at him. Can Rapace reset the lead? Yes, he can. Back up into P1 as we do see Joe Murphy looking to make a move ahead of Zach Styler. P2 down to P4. Not a good opening start for him.
Definitely not. It's still carnage behind as well as Dirk and Lucas Biesner squabbling away, and they're just trying to find track position. Is that Larry Tolkey trying to find a way through as well? There's a car. Well, my goodness me, there's a car on top of each other. What on earth is that? I think that was JSD up on top of Gabriel Quintino there, as there's yellow flags for Florian. Unfortunately, in 22nd, that last to first is going to all of a sudden a little bit harder, as it's still some squabbling going on as they head towards Zhangzhou. And my goodness me, it's still side by side between Larry Tolkey and Carlos Galindo.
Indeed, as we head our way back down to turn 1, the gaps have increased up at the top 2 or top 3, but we have got Lucas Biesner here on the attack of Zach Styler, but just can't quite get alongside there. Larry Tolkey and Carlos Galindo coming together down at turn 1, and Galindo looking to go the long way around, but had to back out through turn 2. And we do see as well there Cameron Dowd dropping below Casper Flack and maybe below Jensen Rowson and Dennis Langrock as well, who are on the attack. Down to turn 4 we go. It's a long run in towards Desida de Largo. Cameron Dowd's there, trying to force Jensen the long way around. Jensen has to tuck him behind and will sit in 14th. Further ahead, we have the 2 new teams on the grid, DMT and TC, in 10th and 11th, having a battle, as we do see Cameron Dowd make a send, and it sends Marcel Pabst round DME. A slight bit of contact sends the Red Bull spin in.
That is unfortunate there. A little bit of just a little bit of contact, not too much, as we saw 3 wide go into Pico de Pato between, I think that was Dennis Longram, Eli Tomasetto and Ave Gabade there, as it's still squabbling away for the battle for P14, which is great to see. I think we've had some really good starts, and one of them being JSD up 3 places from the start, proving that a good launch can really help you.
Certainly. And just going on board there with Larry talking, we could hear him lifting so early before he jumped onto the brakes. We'll have a listen in again to Larry talking here, heading his way down towards the Retro Lifts at about 250 metres, does Larry Talkie, way earlier before you actually have to put your foot on the brakes. And that just shows that battery management is key on F126. Looking a little bit further down as well, we do have battles forming, dear me, that was close. Damage Kenny going ahead of Ava Gabadi, who drops down to 18th and now 19th potentially, as there's Jerry Van Bussel with the send. It's going to have to try and send it around the outside through turn 9. He can't quite keep it alongside and will stop there for now in 19th. Oh, and there's a bit of contact, but luckily for Ava Gabadi, he doesn't lose that 18th spot.
Seems like finally it's calmed a little bit throughout the rest of the grid. There's still a few squabbles down further down, but the front have definitely settled a little bit, as Niall actually, I say that, is looking very, very racy on the back end of Tomasetto there in P15, and looks to the inside as they head towards turn 1. That's a very late break, but good move, good overtake from Niall.
Indeed, a nice move there from the Aston Martin to move himself up into 15th, and now sits behind one of his fellow teammates of Dennis Langrock, also in a TRT machine. Further back, Tamas Kokeni! Oh, dear me, that's 2 cars into the barriers! Oh, I don't know what happened there. It was Tudor Pressacan, and I think it was Florian Fanzelter caught up in that one. I thought it was Kokeni. No, it was a little bit further back, and that is certainly a safety car. Lap 4 in, and already 2 cars pile driving into the barriers at down at turn 4.
That I've just re-looked at that a few times, and it just looks like the front end of the Mercedes got attached to the diffuser of the Red Bull. That is not ideal, but it's such a shame for Florian, who's couldn't set a qualifying lap for some reason, and then, well, had a mistake early doors and now out of the race.
Of course, and for those that, for those who know, let's hope Florian isn't doing that when he gets his chance to drive in his Cadillac car, because that certainly wouldn't be too good for him. As we do have the safety car out, though, Luca Rapace still in the lead. We have JSD and Gabriel Quintino going for pit stops. Now, that's interesting, and even more are going for pit stops as well here on lap 5. We've got, and mysteriously as well, we've got mediums and hard runners pitting early. So we keep an eye on what the strategy is for that, as all the engineers pop out into the pit lane. The drivers will come in and change their tyres. Tamas Kokeni goes to soft tyres, everybody else to either a set of hards or to a set of mediums. Now, I'm sure that's a mistake potentially for Tamas, because I don't know why you'd want to go on a soft tyre.
Yeah, it must be maybe it's a glitch. Maybe they didn't set it properly. Maybe, who knows? But I definitely have found another glitch. I'm not sure if you had that through the pit stop phase, but I was on board with Niall, and it kept on resetting the camera. It would go to the, and it was rather off-putting.
Yes, we had a glitch yesterday, and it was one that existed actually in 25, and it was weird. The cars that were in the pit lane were driving down the track. We had cars reversing in the pit lane. We had somehow 2 teammates pit at the same time and come out half a second apart, which I don't know how that's possible, considering that it's, they've got to get in, get out, then the engineers need to reset for the other driver to go in and change. So normally you're expected to be like 3 seconds, 4 seconds back. They came out half a second behind each other. So, yes, pit stop glitches were very heavy in the last race, and luckily, and not a thing here in this one, as we look our way through the grid. And to be fair, for the top 10, there's not been that many changes. If we look at the position change here, like, apart from Casper Flack and Dowds, none of the others in the top 10 have actually done much. Of course, Lexstyle being the biggest loser, dropping 2 spots from the start, and most others either staying the same or moving up 1 place. And I accidentally turned on the telemetry, so now it's stuck on for the rest of the race. So, yes, click the wrong button.
So there was a front wing change for Tamas, and maybe Tamas wanted to go back on the hards and didn't want to waste a lap of medium compound. Tamas can't think he can get those hards to the end of the race. Surely not.
Well, I'm not really sure on how it works in this game with tyres. I'd imagine he's going on the hards and he'll switch to mediums. Because I can't... Yeah, I don't think you can do 32 laps at all on a hard tyre. So I'd imagine, yes, he'll just pit when the others on the hards do as well, which is Dennis Langrock, Dirk Vermond and Zach Styler. Yeah, that's the only thing I can really imagine, as Eve Gabaddi and Jerry Van Bussel there overtaking each other for a minute. Let's hope they get that sorted, because the last thing we need is drive-throughs being thrown out for drivers overtaking each other, or whatever the penalty is anyway.
Let's hope that'll sort this. It's still going on. Maybe what on earth?
Oh, it's in.
Safety. Wow.
Late again.
That's...
We saw that last time. It was really late.
Yeah. But also they've barely been under the safety car.
Yep.
Maybe 2 laps. I suppose everything is all back up together. It's fine. But I'll let you take us away.
Rapassa's gone early, very early there for Luca Rapassa, and many others also trying to get some moves done early. Jerry Van Bussel ignoring yellow flag, 10-second penalty. Later the breaks there from Dirk Vermond and Tapseria of Zach Styler. Lucas Biesner gets the better of him and jumps up into the top 5. Further down in the midfield, Jensen Rowson jumps himself up into the top 10. A good start from him, as a couple of drivers there did drop back on the race start. Another 10-second penalty apparently there for Jerry Van Bussel's Audi. What's happened now? Oh, it's 3 wide. 2 cars get sent off the track as Carlos Galindo bullies his way through in the Cadillac and jumps up into the top 6. Cameron Dowds up into 7th place, and it was Lucas Biesner and Dirk Vermond that came together. The 2 VNT cars now down to 8th and 9th.
One thing, you don't want to get caught up with your teammate. I know they're in separate cars, but they are still part of the VNT team, and that's not ideal, as there's a few squabbling places. Jerry Van Bussel and Casper Flack being one of them, and there's a round for an Alpine, I think.
Yeah, that's Quintino went round, went sideways. What did you see there?
There's some angerness happening at Zhangzhou. That's the only way I can describe it. I'm pretty certain there's a Ferrari front end plate in the stands somewhere, as now Marcel Pabst is trying to find a way through, and there's some squabbling behind, and my goodness me, that's a late lunge from the Haas.
That was a late lunge, but you know what? He's nearly made it work. And he's made it work as well. Oh, wow, that was a lunge and a half. But I imagine maybe he's going to get bullied down this straight. 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. Oh, and that's a Ferrari into the barriers. Casper Flack is out of the Grand Prix. That was a big hit, and I think we've avoided the safety car somehow. And it's just going to be, I'd imagine, a VSC coming out. Well, yeah, I think it's a VSC because Luca Rapassa slowed down immediately.
Goodness me. That just looked like Casper tried to make an overtake and the back end just went no.
Something happened. I'm not sure what, though. There was like 6 cars all there together. Oh, dear me.
I'm guessing at this point Jerry Van Bussel might decide to go into the pit, serve that 10-second penalty, and replace that front wing.
Yes. Where is he? There he is, 14th. Yeah, he's going to have to, isn't he? Yeah, because that wing is not going to be lasting very long. I'm sure that's safe to say. So Flack and Fanzelta are out due to collisions down to turn 4 at Decido de Largo. So that's causing some issues, it seems, today. So Van Bussel should go back into the pit lane and just get that wing changed. He does indeed. And Lucas... Oh, no, he doesn't. He stays out. Lucas Biesner, though, is in. So he's going to change his tyres. And has he got a front wing to change? We'll have to wait and see once he gets to the end of the pit lane. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. I thought he was. And I thought I saw the engineer holding up the wing. But no, it was the rear jack he was holding up. Or the front jack, I should say.
I'm still surprised that we've lost 2 drivers on a straight.
I'm not. I'm not surprised at all. I knew there was going to be carnage. You know, I think another thing as well is a lot of drivers aren't taking this as seriously. So if that means Ascend ends up in a death, they're not going to be too bothered unless it was in a league race, and it'd be causing absolute carnage, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Very, very, very true. So I remembered the question I wanted to ask you. Obviously, the PC console wars, and you mentioned that the PC, the console poll time was a 108.3, and then obviously this was a 107.8, so 0.5 of a second between them. Early doors.
Yes, definitely. I mean, part of it is the fact that the PC's better, but also these drivers have had a lot more time to practice too compared to the console lot. It was very deep there for Van Bussel. Oh, that was a bit of a scary rejoin. Drops down to 15th, however, but that could have easily killed another driver as he's now behind the back of Elliot Tomasetto, who continues on in now 15th place. And yeah, Van Bussel, they're getting involved in a little bit too much down at turn 1 as Gabriel Quintino makes a pass ahead of Tomasz Kokeni.
23 seconds on the name of Jerry Van Bussel for penalty-wise here. There's only a further 3 penalties for the rest of the grid, and that's Dennis in 11th place. Jerry Van Bussel maybe wanting all the penalties to themselves. I don't think he'd get points for that, though.
No, it seems he does want something, though, at least. If he's not going to win, he might as well win in penalties, as he drops into 18th, 19th. I think he's done his knee in this race. That is safe to say. He's done and dusted around this track. As we do go back down to turn 1, Luca Rapassa has got a healthy lead ahead of Tony Hietala, but we do see there Joe Murphy and Zach Styler on the attack. But crucially, look at the gap they've got now to Carlos Galindo. 2.5 seconds separates them all. So at the moment, the top 4 are flying ahead. And looking on, as long as there's no more safety cars, looking to confirm themselves as top 4 here.
As Tony defensive from Joe Murphy heading towards the Descida del Lago there. Also, we've got there's a little bit more contact and yellow flag. That's thankfully no damage. I thought there could very well have been another safety car or a virtual safety car. As diving up the inside is Zach Styler on Joe Murphy into turn 8 there. But I think Joe's lost the position.
Yep, he has. A nice move there from Zach. I mean, there was certainly contact there initially, but he's managed to swoop it around the outside and hold on and there claim that 3rd spot. A nice move there from Styler. So now he'll have a turn up, trying to get ahead of Tony and Luca. Of course, he's the only one in that main train there on the hard tyres. So that strategy, if it's the one to work, well, he's alone. So he's going to take a lot of glory for it. But we'll have to wait and see as he now looks to make a move ahead of P3 into P2. A nice move there from Styler. Displaces Tony Hietala and makes it back to McLaren 1-2 here.
Yeah, after a poor start from Zach, and maybe that's why it was a poor start, because of the hard compound of tyres. But driver that I'm really interested in seeing how they're going to handle the rest of this race is Tudor Pressacan in P12, just about to make a move on, I say just about to, has made the move on Dirk, up into P11, on the freshest hard compound of tyres of anyone above him and around him other than JST. Are we seeing a masterclass move of pitting early from them?
Well, he's still going to have to pit again, I'd imagine. I can't see those tyres going to the end. He's going to have to do like 30-odd laps on them. So he'll have to pit, but at least for now, he'll be able to gain time on some of those ahead of him. And at least compared to those on the hards as well, at least he's gained time on them. So he's going to be one of the front runners on the hard to medium train. As we make our way out to John Say once again here, just following Jensen Racing in the Cadillac. He's got Cameron Dowds ahead of him, and then his Cadillac teammates, Carlos Galindo, ahead as well. As we head our way back down to turn 1, will there be any moves here in the mid part of the top 10? I don't think there is, unless Marcel Pabst has something to say, but no, he will stay 9th for now. But crucially, has 4 lap better tyres than all of those ahead, so expect to see him starting to make some moves here down to turn 4 as he wants to get ahead of Jensen Racing.
Oh, goodness, there's a few drivers squabbling away, and Cameron Dowds and Carlos there being 2 of them. As there goes Jensen. Through goes Jensen. Is Jensen going to get the move done? They have done. Jensen Rowson, well, take your hat off there. That was a great opportunistic move to get up into P7.
Indeed, and Carlos sends it back on him, though. The 2 Cadillacs get side by side through into turn 9, and Jensen does hold ahead there in 7th place. Marcel Pabst is looking to also start to find some opportunities, move ahead of Carlos Galindo perhaps on the next lap of racing. It's lap 13, heading on to lap 14 now around Brazil. And Zach Styler taking the lead down at turn 6 there, ahead of Luca Rapassa. A nice move, and now can start to set himself a little bit more further away from those on the mediums, being on the better tyre, of course, on those hards. Down towards turn 1 we go. Marcel Pabst on the rear of Carlos Galindo. JSD for the back, making moves, and Jensen Racing there looking to go ahead of Cameron Dowds, but he can't quite find anything there through turns 1, 2 and 3 at the centre S's, and he drops into P7 just for now. And then I think we do see there Dennis Langrock looking to get involved and maybe make it 3 wide nearly down towards turn 4.
This battle in the midfield is absolutely incredible. Dennis Lundgren trying to get through as well. It is 3 wide. My goodness me. Tudor Pressacan is desperate for that position. Has got it done. Oh, man. This midfield battle has been absolutely insane. And if we see this throughout F126, I think our jobs are going to be a lot harder, which is a good thing.
Certainly, there's so much to focus on. And Tudor Pressacan there being a little bit naughty. I'd imagine that in a league race, that would probably be a penalty. It was a clear push to pass. He went off the grass. But in a social race, who cares? We're here to have a bit of fun and learn the new regulations. As Joe Murphy could be looking to get himself into the top 3. He's closing down on Tony Hietala, but I don't think it'll be enough. And you can see he's already starting to lift off at that point there before he hits onto the brakes, does Joe. So he's utilising that battery very well here and just saving up as much as he possibly can. As Tudor Pressacan now closes in on Dennis Langrock, looking to make moves on the hard tyre runners. But of course, 14 laps in a stint, the hards are going to be quicker than the mediums. So it's not a surprise to see these guys making some moves as JSD goes ahead of Carlos Galindo. Tudor Pressacan closing down on Langrock. He might have a run here up towards turn 6 as Dennis Langrock is looking for a run on Jensen Rowson, and that's going to be further ahead. Tudor Pressacan, another brilliant move up the inside, and gets ahead of Langrock and jumps himself into the top 8.
And that was much cleaner than the last time of asking, and very good. What's that?
Uh-oh. Gabani getting into contact there with, I think it was Carlos Galindo. He's also retired on track, so I think that's a statement of, I've had enough here.
Not ideal, unfortunate for them. But yeah, well, still some great racing coming through as Tony is the first to jump from the mediums.
Oh, that's interesting. Larry Torquay as well joining here, Taylor. Many others coming in as well. Marcel Paps, Larry Torquay, Luca Rapasso with a 3-second time penalty. So his race, which was looking to go his way and looking to give him the win, he's been given a crucial penalty, which could certainly cost him of that race win. And depending how close the grid is, that could even cost him a podium potentially.
Yeah, that's not ideal. And just behind, I think Tudor Pressacan is trying to do the same as he's done the last couple of laps, but this time around the outside of Jensen Rowson. And it's not, there's contact, but I think that's a 3-second time penalty going that way. And I think in the league race, that may have been taken away, but Tudor has got the move stuck on Jensen there.
He's flying. I know he's on better hards than Jensen's mediums, but he's absolutely flying. He is Tudor Pressacan, and he's not scared to make a move. The last 3 laps, it saw very daring overtakes in the end of the first and heading into the start of the middle sector. He's very daring, is Tudor Pressacan. As we make our way back down to turn 1, Luca Rapasso, Joe Murphy are into the pit lane. You'd imagine Jensen Racing will be in as well. Yes, he is. Off to the pit lane goes the Cadillac as we head our way back down to turn 1. Zach Styler now has the lead ahead of Tudor Pressacan by 7.5 seconds. Dirk Vermond retires in the pits. He's done and dusted here in the first social race of hopefully many on this game. And then we do see as well, of course, Dennis Langrock reigning off the top 3 as it stands.
See where Tony comes with respect to Luca Rapasso. Tony's going to get the undercut. I think down there, they're going to be side by side as they head down the Retroposta towards Decido de Lago. They're still side by side. This is really, really close between the two of them. But I think Tony's tyres are just warmer, just better. But Luca is not giving it up one bit and stays ahead of the RB.
Yep, a lot more battery there for Luca. He had about 30% more to his disposal. So that, of course, just meant Tony couldn't keep there. There's no way he was going to stay ahead of Luca down that short run up towards turn 6. So Luca Rapasso retakes a race lead, of course, net race lead, of course, with that time penalty as well. And he's also got better tyres, so he's got a time penalty, which is a shame, but at least he's got better tyres than Tony, and maybe that could work its way into something. I don't know what the sort of difference is between tyre wear on this game, but in past games, one lap sometimes just make a bit of a difference.
Yeah, and I've started writing a few questions down just in case we do get to speak to some people later on and get their thoughts on this. But, this is one of them as Jensen has decided to retire in the pit lane. But battery versus undercut and overcut, is that how much is that going to affect the what we used to see with undercuts and overcuts? This battery not issue, but addition to the game.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, for sure? And at the moment, it's for some drivers it's worked well. I mean, for Tudor Pressakan, for example, he's been able to charge through and use that battery to his work, but other drivers have lost out heavily and kind of just get swamped, and there's nothing they can do about it. So it's certainly something that you're going to have to learn to manage properly. It's going to be a key characteristic of this game, is battery management, rather than just pure skill and pure pace. As a random person's joined. I'm sure they'll probably leave eventually when they realise they can't take part. As we head our way back down to turn one, of course, the net race lead at the minute is Luca Rapassa. Tony Hietala second, and Joe Murphy in third place. But of course, you've still got all of those in the top 8 to pit, so it'll be interesting to see whereabouts they come out after they pit onto mediums and, of course, onto better tyres.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on that one. It's a shame that we're about halfway through this one and we've lost 6 drivers, and going towards Tessida de Largo, Tony Hitalia and Joe Murphy are throwing everything at it. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton-esque from 2021. But Joe Murphy does get the move done and trying to chase down Luca Rapassa and keeping that firing line. Tudor Pressakan is 7.3 seconds behind Zach, obviously on slightly different strategies. I don't think even with that 4-lap advantage of tyres, Tudor's going to be able to hunt them down.
No, certainly not. I mean, it won't be long until they're in anyway. Give it maybe 5 laps and they'll be into the pit lane for medium tyres. As we do see there, Gabriel Quintino going ahead of Elio Tomasetto into turn 1. A nice move by the DMT driver ahead of the Haas of Elio Tomasetto. But of course, they're all on the same strategy too. They'll have to pit at some point in the race unless they think they can get to the end. But I can't see a world where they can do 31 laps on a set of the hard compound of tyres. So the racing for now is dying down a little bit, but I'm hoping that once we see these hard runners go in, it's going to spice it up a bit, because they will be flying on the back of those that are on the hards currently that have pitted from the mediums. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes, as Luca Rapassa is slowly catching up now to the back of Tamas Kenny and will get some overtake mode to use. That'll be good for him in terms of keeping Joe Murphy back, because Joe Murphy seems to be flying at the moment on those hard tyres.
Yeah, it seems second wind, I suppose you could say. Tony hasn't been able to match Luca or Joe Murphy, sorry, from this fight since moving on to the hards. Maybe the hard compound tires they're finding a little bit harder to heat up and get into racing speed. But well, here comes Luca Rapassa then. I say that. Tamash is into the pit, so it's no overtaking opportunity on that occasion.
Now, into the pits now for Tamas Kenny, the first of those on the hards to set himself on to some medium tyres and head to the end of the race. There he goes, on to mediums, and we'll continue on in this one. And, of course, we'll see how quickly he can get those mediums up to pace, and we'll start to have a look as well how quick he's gaining time on the likes of Galindo and perhaps the head. Of course, he's way far behind them, but at least we can see the delta and the sort of gaps that he's bringing down to those further ahead, as Florian Fanzelter does leave the session, but of course he was out on lap 3 when he got caught up in that pile-up down towards turn 4. As we are just looking for some battles, and the only real one here is probably Gabriel Quintino on the back of JSD. Got Joe Murphy and Luca Rapassa still as well, but it just seems like at the minute, what we saw all race from the leaders is they're happy just to stay where they are and just use a battery and not bother making any overtakes, unless Joe Murphy's changed his mind this time around.
Yeah, maybe Joe will decide to go for it. I'm not sure. I think knowing from previous games, Joe Murphy will probably wait and hold back a little bit as Niall decides to pit on that lap on 17-lap old tyres. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not 100% sure how dirty air in this game is going to be. We saw on many occasions it would overheat that front tyres.
Niall's back onto hard tyres. I think he started on mediums anyway, but interesting to see him go back onto hards when he probably could have took a set of mediums to the end there. So interesting strategy there for Nargio. And he'll rejoin the race in 15th place. And crucially, isn't that far behind from Carlos Galindo. So once you see the likes of Zach Styler and Tudor Pressacan go in, they won't be that far away from those in the top 10. So that'll be something to watch there for. Because they're not going to be that far back. So we'll keep an eye on that as we look at the gap between the top two. And Tudor Pressacan has brought that gap down by a second. So it is coming down. But of course, by the time it gets to any gap at around, well, with the way it's going down at the minute, by the time it gets down to 3 or 4 seconds, you'd imagine that Styler will be in anyway for his pit stop.
Sorry, I'm just writing down another question to possibly ask someone later on. JST getting past Dennis Langrock there for P3. Dennis has done a fair whack of, oh my goodness, it's going to be possibly 4-3 wide into Cedar del Lago. That's very, very close. And Dennis has managed to get P3 back. And it's just a squabble of cars.
Certainly is, and of course this here is helping Tudor Pressacan and Zach Styler run away a little bit because they're losing so much time battling side by side, heading through that middle sector. Of course, the more this goes on, the quicker it'll bring Luca Rapassa into the picture, and hopefully for him can get the move done quickly and dispatch all of those on the hards as Quintino goes wide at Bico de Pato, and of course because of that loses a hefty chunk of time to JSD. We'll see if anybody comes in this time around. Will Zach Styler be in? No. He continues on the hard tyres for another lap of racing. Same goes for Pressacan, and I think everybody else is staying out, aren't they? None of the hard tyre runners are heading in. And then, of course, we have the leaders starting to catch up quickly. But JSD's on the attack of Elliot Tomasetto into turn 1. Tomasetto's gone deep, but JSD just can't quite hang it around the outside of turn 2.
It was so close, and it kind of looks like fighter planes just darting and dicing at every possibility to try and find any bit of track that they can. As we've got a pit for Carlos Galindo. That's early on the hards. Maybe there's been an issue there as some still squabbling away between JST, Gabriel Quintino and Tomasetto then managing to get the better of them. Lucas gets a 3-second time penalty for their trouble down in P11, and your guess for the win, your outside chance, is not had the best of races, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately not. I'm not going to do another bet again, I don't think, because it's not gone well, has it? Last time, I think my car, Zach Styler's in. One of my predictions last night was, I think I predicted both Audis. One of them disconnected and DNF'd, and the other one didn't get anywhere near the top 2. And I predicted them to win. My prediction tonight started 5th and now he's 11th with a penalty, so we'll probably finish below that. So yes, it's not gone quite well for me in my prediction world for the new game, so I don't think I'll do any more predicting for the future because I don't want to end up deciding anybody's careers with my poor predictions, as we do see Gabriel Quintino go ahead of Tomasetto.
I wonder when we're going to see Tudor Pressacan pit, because I mean, could we see Tudor decide to throw hell to leather and go on a set of softs?
Well, Carson in the chat, who is one of the head engineers at FVR, says they should be able to make it to the end. The car's that pitted early, low tyre wear. Well, if that's the case, we've got a big race on our hands. However, I don't think it matters anyway because Luca Rapassa is on the back of JSD, who's only about a second back from Gabriel Quintino. So, I don't know. I think at this point it's like, well, Tudor Pressacan, if he doesn't pit, he can hope till the end. But if he does pit, he's guaranteed to lose time. So I suppose that's for him. What does he plan on doing? Does he rather lose the time guaranteed or potentially still get a decent result out of it?
Yeah, that's a good plan. Lap 26 of 36. Tomasetto dispatching again of Gabriel Quintino for the battle for P2 currently, with Luca Rapassa waiting in the wings, unable to find a way past JST at the moment. But Tony Hatala, after a strong early performance, is now 3.7 seconds behind all this, as there goes Luca Rapassa, much quicker than JST into Ferradura there.
Of course, now he's going to be stuck in this train though, which is the last thing that he needs. He should be able to get a nice easy move ahead of Quintino in towards Bico de Pato. Up the inside goes Rapassa. Quintino tries to hang it around the outside, though. That's the inside down at turn 11. And Rapassa's got, he's got a lot more pace there in the car, and he just flies ahead of him and will slot into third. It should be an easy move as well for him to get into second place. But look at Zach Styler. That gap when he came out of the pits was 2.5 seconds to Tony Hietala. A lap later, it's 9/10. He's flying as we see the Audi of Basner off the road. Oh dear me, it's gone from bad to worse for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not great at all as the battle between Luca Rapassa and Joe Murphy rages on. Joe Murphy's gone around the outside of Tomasetto in the second part of the Center S, but it's not going to be that way as they head towards down the Retroposta, and there's contact and there's damage with someone, and that is Joe Murphy with damage.
Yeah, Murphy's got damage and he's fell back behind all those on the hard tyres. Now, that does present an opportunity to Zach Styler, because once he gets past Tony Hietala, it's a 3-second run to Joe Murphy, who's damaged and also on old hard tyres and stuck behind these who are battling and yet to pit as Tomasetto gets a penalty. And he goes deep as well. He collects JSD, who collects Joe Murphy. And that's their race is complete as well. Done and dusted. It's safe to say for Joe Murphy, he'll drop down the grid. And I wouldn't be surprised if he heads back into the pit lane and retires from this one. But Zach Styler now, net P2, comfortably as he's still battling here with Tony Hietala.
Yeah, that's unfortunate at the exit of Pika to Pato. I think Joe Murphy was just a sitting duck through that as, yeah, you're right, retiring. Zach Styler, the inside of Tony. It's like taking candy from a baby. That was easy for the medium runner of Zach Styler. Indeed,
and Elliot Tomasetto as well also calls it quits here in this race and heads his way back into the pit lane, and it will then at least put Lucas Beesner up into 13th. He's also retiring, I think, as well. Never mind, he stayed out, so at least he gets 13th, so it's not the worst prediction in the world, I suppose. He could have finished about 8 positions down, because that's how many cars retired. It's been an interesting one, hasn't it? It's safe to say. Very interesting. I didn't quite expect so many retirements. I think it's 9 in total.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this much, nearly half the grid. But I think there's a few drivers that, early doors, that, Casper and Florian, who had that issue down the Retroposta, which doesn't help. 2 separate occasions as well. Jerry Van Bussel, who just picked up 20 seconds worth of penalties. Slightly surprised by Jensen and Dirk retiring early doors, but I suppose if you get those issues, then you probably if it's not a league race, you probably not got the heart to finish it off. But right now, Luca Rapassa is hunting Tudor Pressacan, and it's only a matter of time when this will come through. But Gabriel Quintino is probably going to take that position away from Tudor Pressacan because of the penalties to Tudor.
Yeah, 3 seconds for Tudor and 3 seconds as well for Luca Rapassa. So that will still be a bit of a decider potentially, because Zach Styler is, let's have a look at the gap at the minute to leader. So it's about 4.2 seconds at the minute for Zach Styler to Luca Rapassa. So he just needs to gain over 1.5 seconds in the next 7 laps to potentially look to claim that race win here. As we head our way back out of the final couple of corners, Luca Rapassa should be an easy overtake ahead of Tudor Pressacan, who can't fight back at all, and Rapassa flies by, and Tudor Pressacan drops down to P2 in this one. As we do see further back as well, Tony Hietala making a move ahead of JSD, and, well, I was saying earlier on, maybe he's got to get an easy P3 here, but of course, somehow Tudor and Gabriel are holding on quite nicely. We've been told as well there's a chance that they could make it to the end, so maybe that potential P3 isn't guaranteed for Tony.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, it should be, the top 3 should be for Zach Styler, definitely, but yeah, Tony, maybe not. If Tudor and Gabriel can just hold on to the DRS straights or whatever we're calling them now, then yeah, that'll be good. But look at Tudor, already 1 second away from Luca Rapassa. Luca Rapassa with that tyre advantage is is already making it known. 1.5 seconds in a lap. That's good work from Luca Rapassa.
Certainly is. And it's a bit of an expectation, really, when it comes to Luca Rapassa to win, because he's a very top driver, and on most days he's probably good enough to be in the Tier 1 grid. Never mind the Tier 2 grid. Of course, he come off the back of winning a championship where he was just dominant. So, yes, I'd imagine that next season, I wouldn't be surprised if he's got himself a Tier 1 reserve spot, because he's a very bright driver. And on this grid, he has been better than everybody by a country mile. Yes, we know he's got a penalty, but he's still 3 seconds up the road ahead of the next car. On the same strategy, it's 6 seconds ahead of the next car. And Tony here, tell her he's not a driver that he's just here for making up the numbers. He's also a top driver. So it just shows the level that Luca Rapassa's at the minute currently, and definitely, what's the word? I wouldn't say interesting. I think it's more the fact of a very positive game cycle ahead for Luca. And certainly I think we'll be giving it a couple of years and he'll probably be finding himself on the esports grid. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever.
I mean, you look at the meteoric rise of Otis Lawrence and Tom Manley, and Luca Rapassa is kind of in the same sort of echelons as those, that kind of pace, as Zach Styler is already over the back of Gabriel Quintino as they head towards turn 1. Is there going to be an overtake up into turn 1? There is indeed. And the next driver on the list is Tudor Pressacan. I guess the next question we have to ask is, can Zach catch Luca?
Well, it doesn't matter, because Luca's penalty at the minute, he's the race winner. He's under 3 seconds of a gap. So if it stays like this, the race win will go towards Zach Styler. But of course, he's got to get past Tudor, who's not going to make it easy. So that's going to extend that gap slightly for a while. But you could just see there how much more pace he's got on those medium tyres up the inside. And it was just a simple move ahead of Tudor. And now Zach Styler can continue focusing on bringing that gap down to below 3 seconds to Luca Rapassa. But it's got to be easy, isn't it, surely? Because he brought that gap down by over a second in 2 laps. So all he's got to do is bring it down by a couple of tenths over 4 laps.
We know these guys. They're race drivers. They want to do it on track as well as they don't care about the penalties. They want the on track kudos, I guess you could say it, the aura of it all. They want to just throw shade maybe. They want to make sure that they are known as the quickest. But Luca, I think, is turning it up a little bit right now to try and keep that at over 3 seconds. But I don't think it's going to last that long. I think the grip through certain corners is just going to go Zach Styler's way.
Indeed, and that gap's back now below 3 seconds. And 3 laps to go. Luca Rapassa will end on 19-lap tyres and Zach Styler will end on 11-lap-old tyres. But I think either way, from what we saw in qualifying, Zach Styler's been very good today. Of course, he got P2, got himself from the front row, and he's now looking to take a race win. If it wasn't to win, it'd still be P2 at least. So I'd say a very successful afternoon here, or evening, I should say, for Mr. Zach Styler in the McLaren, of course, representing VNT for F126, and we'll see how they can get on. Of course, they've had one of their drivers, Victor Vidler, given a spot over at TCE Sports, so their development is very good, it seems. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here for Zach Styler for his future. And Oliver Knott says, does Luca have a 3 seconds? Well, Oliver, the black and white on there suggests a penalty, so I'd say yes, probably.
I'd say it's a drive-through. As Tudor Pressacan and Gabrielle have swapped places, Larry Tolkien and JST have swapped places as well. JST clipping the back end of this contact between Cameron Dowds and JST. And that is not ideal. And, well, they were both fighting with Larry Tolkien for P6. And now they've dropped off massively with front wing damage.
Well, Larry Tolkien will be loving life. He's up in P6 comfortably now, as we do see Cameron Dowds go back ahead of JST. And they continue on damaged in P8 and P9. And I think Dowds is forfeiting this one, isn't he? As all the cars just fly past him. He drops down to 11th and will continue on there as Nargio goes past JST as well, who also seems to be dropping back too. And Nargio also gets given a penalty. So not too ideal for him either in this one. I wonder if these two will come together now. They've already been together once or twice before. Have to wait and see, because they've both slowed down heavily, haven't they?
Yeah. usually if you collect each other or take each other like that first, you ask the other person out for dinner. But this time, both, and it's odd. It's both the front left of the wings are damaged. I think they're just gonna see it through to the end now. But I wonder if Tamash. No, say that JST is going into the pits. I wonder if Tamash is gonna catch up with Cameron. Lap 35 of 36. A lap and a half for the leader, but it's 2 laps for Tamas to hunt down Cameron Dowds for the final effective point scoring position of the evening.
You'd imagine he will because he's caught up 5 tenths in one corner. So it should be an easy pass really for... Oh, I think there's a bit of lag there as well for Cameron because he popped back out of nowhere into the view to own his left. So yeah, no matter, he got the move done anyway. But the issue is as well, the AI apparently is quite good on this game. So, never mind, I was going to say, because apparently Yada Watme couldn't beat the 110 AI. And I was going to say, if that's on maximum, he might have a bit of a struggle there getting past Cameron Dowds. But we go on to one final lap of racing. And you know what? Rapassa's kept Zach Styler at bay. It's been constantly around 2.6 to 2.8 seconds for the past 3 laps. As we do see there, Tony Hietala looking to make the move for 4th. Does get it done. He's got 1 lap to get ahead of Quintino. But I'd say, given the circumstances, Rapassa's done a good job there of not losing so much time to Zach Styler.
Yeah, you could say it's sensational, really, from Luca Rapassa to do that. But that just shows, I guess, shows his class as they come, well, as they both now heading up to Ferradura and through this second sector as Larry Torquay picks up a 3-second time penalty. And that will, well, I mean, we've got a load of drivers there in the midfield bunch on penalties through it all on 3 seconds. Every driver that's left in the session is on 3 second of penalty, just to clarify for everyone. But yeah, Luca Rapassa heading through Zhang Zhao now, and well, a little bit of a snap. Will take victory on the track, but won't win the race. But nonetheless, a very, very solid drive.
Yeah, certainly has been. So Luca Rapassa will head up to the line and take the win on track. But of course, penalties applied means it's Zach Styler that takes the win in the end in the VNT McLaren. He is your race winner. Tony Hietala does manage to get a hold of the place on the final lap ahead of Gabriel Quintino. Tudor Pressacan rounding off the top 5, and then we see everybody else crossing the line. It was Larry Torquay, Dennis Langrock, Noel Keogh, Marcel Pabst and Tamas Kokeni rounding off your top 10. And then JSD, Lucas Biesner and Cameron Dowds, the rest of the field. That was rather chaotic, and I think we saw a lot of drivers getting very angry, didn't we, in the first few laps there, because there was a lot of unnecessary contact.
Yeah, it seemed to calm itself down, and then Florian had that incident, and that seemed to rile everyone back up, and we had loads of issues again. But yeah, there was definitely some chaotic moments. There's some really good racing though. You saw Tudor Pressacan coming up the inside of towards Ferradura numerous times. There was one that was a little bit questionable, but showing that overtaking is better.
Yeah, I think some parts, yes, the overtaking was better, but I think in other cases, if everybody's doing the same thing, they all get stuck there like a DRS train. So it's all about just being better than the others in terms of managing the battery. We have got Luca Rapassa in for a chat, so we'll quickly drag him up into the interview room once it loads up on here. Luca, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. So, great way to start off the game. Of course, it's only a social race, nothing really to take away in terms of, sort of pace and whatever. But, I mean, what's your thoughts on the racing in this game so far? Because there's lots of different opinions.
It's a lot different. It's like it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you have a good battery at the important points, you're fine. So it is really trying to keep the battery as high as possible onto like the main straight here, and just being lifting, coasting the entire time in every corner.
Of course, and because it's a social race, people aren't taking this as as hard, and there's only preset setups, and drivers trying different strategies. So of course, we saw the grid pan out quite quickly. We saw quite a few retirements. I mean, when we go into the league races in the season, how do you reckon it will be in terms of having the grid all together? Do you think the whole grid will stay together in one train, or do you think we'll see gaps start to form quite quickly in some of the races?
I think there'll be quite a lot of gaps because it's like if you like go for a move in the midfield and you get the move done, you're gonna have like no battery compared to the people in front of you. And if the guys at the front have a good pace, there's a very big chance on the long straight you're just gonna have no battery and you're gonna get gapped easily. So I think there's gonna be quite a lot of gaps in the trains.
Yeah. And Warder, you had a couple of questions as well, didn't you?
I did. I was going to ask about dirty air, but Luca didn't really get any dirty air in that race. Luca, when you did have the few moments of dirty air, does it feel um, worse than F125, or was it easier?
Well, I've done a lot of like 5 laps, so there's like so much less dirty air. You can actually like stick really close to people, and the racing's in that way really good because you can just stick 2 tenths behind someone.
So will you think that there may be less overtaking because of the way you can stick in people's dirty air, and you don't want to lose ground to the drivers ahead? Like you say, you make a move and the battery's gone. Do you feel that may have an adverse effect?
Uh, I reckon there's going to be at some points when you have people not trying to fight, and then someone behind them is trying to overtake. Then there's going to be moments where some person maybe gains like 4 positions, and then the next race loses 3 of them again. So I think it's going to be very chaotic. It's going to be a big learning curve for everyone.
Yes,
Fantastic.
certainly. So, Luca, thanks for popping in for a chat. Of course, we'll see you when the league racing season begins. So, have a good evening, and we'll chat with you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
And we'll next drag in Gabriel Quintino. Gabby, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So that was an interesting race for yourself. Of course, you dropped near the back of the field, went for a different strategy, and in the end, it worked out quite well. I mean, we know that about 10 people retired, but still a decent result. I mean, first of all, of course, new team for you, new team for everybody in the scene. How's it been the first few days settling in?
Honestly, quite good, I would say. I think of course, I already kind of was spotting the team since like August last year. But we was just racing, just doing Brazil stuff, and now we said, well, let's try to go for Europe. Let's just try to migrate, and yeah, I mean, it's been honestly a very fun experience, I guess. I mean, we've been hiring some pretty decent people, especially from the last esports season. So yeah, it's been quite enjoyable for sure.
Certainly, and of course, in this race, I think the main thing to ask is about the tyres. How did they last 32 laps? I mean, what was the tyre wear like at the end?
I was like on 90, to be fair. I was surprised that it didn't blow up, to be fair. So, I mean, we already know that, we weren't sure, like, okay, how the tires are going to last. No, especially like, because it's such a new experience for everyone. I mean, we're just on the second day. And then yeah, I mean, even though like I've got spun out because like literally like I think after the safety car restart, someone got desynced like behind me. I literally went in the air and spun in the air. So yeah, it was quite an interesting experience. But yeah, got some time away from that, and still with that, pretty much could do 32 laps on the hard. So yeah, some interesting time away from EA Sports, I should say.
Certainly, and of course, heading into league racing season, how are you feeling after the first couple of days? I mean, I know we've not been using proper setups, and everybody's still getting adjusted. But so far, have you finding the game better to drive, or what's your thoughts?
I mean, I like it to be fair. I mean, to drive, I like it to be fair. I mean, of course, you just, you have a shorter wheelbase. It's more lighter now. It's always nimble, especially low speed. It's pretty fun to drive, I would say. Especially like to go on the limit on a proper hot lap, I would say it's quite fun as well, especially with the lower downforce. Racing wise, I mean, the aero part, maybe, yeah, like maybe it's. Yeah, I mean, I like the aero part, especially like how close you can follow. But then, yeah, it's just the battery that dictates everything. So, um, yeah, it's gonna take a while for everyone to know that and to learn that, especially like because in the middle of the straight, like you use boost like with the overtake mode when you're behind the guy, and you like the guys like the engine like suddenly like just clips in the mid straight basically, and like it starts to drop down and you have to leak, and I kind of miss like, especially like when V8 days, like when the engine would just ring all of its neck, you know what I'm saying? Like in the until the end of the straight, and now to have that is yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting, especially on quality that you have to do Lico now. So yeah, certainly an interesting experience, which I should summarize.
Certainly. Well, Gabby, thanks for joining us for a quick chat. Pleasure to speak to you as always, and hopefully we'll see you when we get back up and running for league racing.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Have a good one, mate.
Thank you.
And there we go, Warder. So nice to speak to a couple of our drivers then, just get a bit of an insight about, how they're finding the game at the moment. I mean, what did you think of that race as a commentator? Because I thought it was chaotic, but I think in all seriousness, when we head into a grid and we've got 22 drivers that'll make it to the end, it should still be quite exciting racing.
Yeah, I think the action is going to be more for us, which I think I said through the stream is, there is going to be moments where we're not 100% sure what we need to be focusing on, which is a good thing. It's good for us, and hopefully that means it's better for the drivers as well. But I do have like slight concerns that it's going to go back to the same old medium hard medium kind of strategy. I don't know if you've got the same thoughts on that, especially after that, how many laps Gabby was able to put on those hards this evening.
I think it's going to help drivers who maybe get a little bit compromised early on and are forced to pit early for damage. Maybe that can get some of those drivers back into the race if, of course, on other tracks the tyre wears low and they can make it to the end after doing 30 laps on a set of the hard tyres. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye out for, and certainly could throw a little bit of some chaos into the races, that's for sure. But I believe we'll end the night off here. It's been a very good race today. It's been great to see our drivers back on track after a bit of a break after the F125 season completed. And great to be alongside you again, Warder, on the commentary, and I'm sure we'll see each other again once we get the main season started. Of course, we're back as well on Monday, I believe, for our next social race. I'm not sure when the next console one is, but I'm sure there's another one for those as well. So, of course, make sure to join the Discord. I think it's in the YouTube description. You can, of course, see what's going on there and, of course, get notified for when we do get the sign-ups open for the main season, which at the moment, I'm not quite sure when that is, but I'd imagine it won't be too far away. So, Warder, it's been a pleasure again to be alongside you, and I'm sure we'll be together once more over the course of the main season. And of course, a big thanks to everybody for taking part, and to all you in the chat as well as always watching some amazing racing. So for now, it's been a pleasure. We're going to leave you there, and we'll be back on Monday for our next social race on F126. So have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. Good night.